Hey folks, I know I am just an old guy telling stories, but please leave a like and subscribe before we start. Let's enjoy in today's stories. Before I dive into today's stories, I want to say, disclaimer, the content presented in the video is purely for entertainment purposes only. The theories and stories discussed in this video are speculative and are not supported by any evidence or proof. Viewer discretion is advised. When I moved into my late grandfather's house, I thought it would be an opportunity to reconnect with my childhood memories. But nothing could have prepared me for what I found in the attic. The attic was a dusty, cluttered mess. Old boxes, broken furniture, and a peculiar musty smell filled the air. While clearing out the cobwebs and forgotten keepsakes, I stumbled across an unmarked cardboard box buried under a pile of old newspapers. Inside was a single VHS tape wrapped in a tattered cloth. The label on the tape was handwritten and read, "Do not watch." My heart raced with curiosity. Why would someone write that? I should have left it there, forgotten like everything else in that attic. But I didn't. I rummaged through the house until I found an old VCR. After connecting it to the dusty TV in the living room, I hesitated. A voice in my head whispered, "Don't do it." But my fingers moved on their own, pressing the play button. The screen flickered to life with static before an image emerged. The footage was grainy, almost too dark to make out, but I could see what appeared to be a dimly lit room. The camera was shaky, as if someone was holding it, breathing heavily behind the lens. At first, it seemed mundane, an empty chair in the center of the room. But as the minutes ticked by, the atmosphere shifted. Whispers filled the room, soft at first but growing louder. I couldn't understand the words, but they crawled under my skin, making me feel as though I wasn't alone. Then, a figure appeared. Its movements were unnatural, jerky, like a puppet on invisible strings. It stepped into the frame, facing the camera. It wasn't human. Its face was obscured, but its eyes, those eyes were hollow, yet they stared right into mine, even through the screen. A sudden loud bang startled me. The figure snapped its head toward the source of the noise, off-screen. The camera turned quickly, catching glimpses of shadows darting across the walls. The whispers grew into screams. And then the screen went black. But the tape didn't stop. A distorted voice came through the speakers, low and guttural, saying my name. My name. I froze. My heart pounded as the screen flickered back on. It wasn't the room anymore. It was my living room. The camera panned slowly, showing the exact couch I was sitting on, the VCR, the TV. And then it turned to the attic door. The feed cut off. In that moment, the silence was deafening. I swear I heard faint whispers coming from above. I ran out of the house, leaving everything behind. It's been a week since that night. I haven't gone back. But every night, I wake up to the sound of static, like the tape is still playing somewhere. And I can't shake the feeling that something is watching me, waiting for me to come back. If you ever find an old VHS tape with a label that warns you not to watch it, take the advice. Trust me, some things are better left unseen. After that night, I thought I was done with the tape, the house, and the nightmare. But it wasn't done with me. The whispers followed me. At first, I thought it was just paranoia, the echoes of that horrific night playing tricks on my mind. But then, things started happening. Things I couldn't explain. It began with small stuff. My phone would ring in the middle of the night, but when I picked up, all I heard was static. Objects in my apartment would shift places when I wasn't looking. Once, I woke up to find my TV on, playing nothing but black static, the same sound from the tape. I hadn't told anyone about the VHS, not even my closest friends. Who would believe me? But the more I stayed silent, the worse it got. One night, I was jolted awake by a loud knock on my front door. I froze, staring at the clock. It was 3:33 a.m. Who the hell knocks at that hour? Gathering my courage, I grabbed a kitchen knife and tiptoed to the door. I peered through the peephole. No one was there. But when I opened the door, something was waiting for me. On the ground was a package. No return address, just my name scribbled in the same handwriting as the label on the tape. Do not open. I slammed the door shut and backed away, my chest heaving. I knew I should leave it alone, but the pull of curiosity was overwhelming, just like with the tape. Against every instinct, I opened the package. Inside was an old photograph, yellowed and creased. It was a picture of a family sitting together, smiling, except for one thing. Their eyes were scratched out. My stomach turned as I flipped the photo over. Written on the back were the words, "You're next." I didn't sleep that night. By morning, I decided I needed answers. I returned to my grandfather's house, back to the attic where it all started. It was broad daylight, but the house felt colder, darker. As I climbed the attic stairs, I swear I heard faint whispers calling my name. The attic looked untouched, just as I'd left it. But then I saw it, the box. It wasn't where I had found it before. It was now in the center of the room, as if someone or something had placed it there for me to find again. This time, the box wasn't empty. Inside was another tape. This one had no label, no warning, nothing. My hands trembled as I picked it up. I didn't watch it. Not yet. Instead, I did some digging. I scoured the house for any clues about my grandfather, the tapes, and what the hell I'd gotten myself into. Hidden in a drawer in his study, I found an old journal. The entries were fragmented, filled with paranoia and fear. My grandfather wrote about a strange man who had sold him the tape at a flea market decades ago. He mentioned seeing figures in the shadows, hearing voices in the night. His last entry read, "The tape is cursed. Watching it binds you to it, to them." I thought I destroyed it, but it came back. It always comes back. I felt sick. My grandfather had lived with this nightmare, and now it had latched onto me. I had to end it. Armed with lighter fluid and matches, I went to the backyard. I dumped the tapes, the photo, and the journal into a metal bin and set them ablaze. The fire roared, consuming the cursed items. For a moment, I felt relief. But then I heard it again. The static. I turned around and froze. Standing in the shadows of the trees was the figure from the tape. Its hollow eyes bore into me as it tilted its head unnaturally. The fire went out. I don't know how I made it back to my car, but I drove until my gas tank hit empty. I've been staying in a motel ever since, trying to piece together what to do next. But deep down, I know the truth. The curse doesn't end when you burn the tape. It doesn't end when you run. It follows you. And I think it's only a matter of time before it finds me again. I wish I could say the nightmare ended after I burned the tape, but it didn't. The thing, the curse, or whatever it is, it's still with me. A few nights ago, I woke up in the motel to the sound of static. My first thought was the TV, but when I turned to look, it wasn't on. The sound was coming from somewhere else. My phone. It was lying face down on the nightstand, the screen glowing faintly. I hesitated before picking it up. The static stopped the moment my fingers touched the screen, replaced by a single notification. New video received. My stomach dropped. With shaking hands, I opened the message. It was a video, grainy, dark, and unmistakably from the same cursed source. Against every instinct, screaming at me to delete it, I pressed play. The footage showed my motel room, my bed. I was asleep in the video, tossing and turning. The camera was shaky, as if held by someone standing at the foot of the bed. A whisper crackled through the audio, barely audible, but I swore I heard my name. And then, the video ended abruptly with the sound of heavy breathing. I didn't sleep after that. I packed my bags and drove to another town. It didn't matter where, I just needed to get as far away as possible. But no matter how far I go, the feeling of being watched never leaves. In my desperation, I started researching. I found forums, dark corners of the internet, where people shared stories of cursed tapes, haunted media, and entities that latch onto the viewer. Most of them sounded ridiculous, urban legends meant to scare kids. But some felt too real. One user, under the name Watcher88, claimed to have encountered something similar. Their advice was chilling. It's not just the tape. It's the act of watching that gives it power. Once it sees you, it never lets go. You can't destroy it, but you can pass it on. Pass it on. I closed the laptop, my mind racing. Could I really do that? Give this curse to someone else just to save myself? That night, I received another video. This time, it wasn't my motel room. It was a parking lot, the one outside the motel I'd just left. The camera panned slowly, capturing every car. Then it stopped. On my car. A guttural laugh crackled through the audio, followed by a familiar, distorted voice. It said, "You can't run." I threw my phone across the room, smashing it against the wall. My breathing was ragged, my mind spiraling into panic. But before I could think, the TV in the corner turned on by itself. Static. And then, a voice from the speakers. "It's your turn now." The screen flickered, and for the briefest moment, I saw a face. Not a person, but the thing from the tape. Its hollow eyes stared directly into mine, and I knew what it wanted. I've been driving ever since, barely eating, barely sleeping. I don't know what's real anymore. Shadows feel alive, whispers follow me wherever I go, and every time I close my eyes, I see its face. Maybe Watcher 88 was right. Maybe passing it on is the only way to escape. But I can't do it. I can't curse someone else, knowing what this is like. Instead, I'm leaving this record behind. If you're reading this, if you ever come across a VHS tape labeled "Do Not Watch" or receive an unmarked video, don't let curiosity win. Destroy it if you can. Burn it, smash it, bury it where no one will ever find it. I don't know how much time I have left. The whispers are louder now. The static follows me everywhere. And last night, I saw it standing at the foot of my bed. If this is the end, I just hope someone learns from my mistake. Don't watch the tape. Don't let it see you. And if it does, run. But know that it will always be just one step behind. I've stopped running. There's no point. Wherever I go, it's already there. It's like it's inside me now. An infection, spreading through my mind, warping my sense of reality. The line between what's real and what's not has completely blurred. Last night, I heard knocking on the door. 3 sharp, deliberate knocks. I didn't answer. I couldn't move. But when I looked at the door, it wasn't my motel room anymore. It was my grandfather's attic door. The same whispers echoed, louder now, chanting my name over and over. And then it spoke again, the voice from the tape. Time to come home. I don't remember deciding to leave the motel. The next thing I knew, I was driving back to my grandfather's house, the cursed place where this all began. The house stood like a shadow against the moonlight, dark and lifeless. When I stepped inside, the air was heavier than before, almost suffocating. Every creak of the floorboards sounded like whispers, beckoning me back to the attic. And yet, the attic wasn't where I ended up. The house had changed. The walls seemed to shift, the corridors stretching endlessly. Every door I opened led to the same room, the one from the tape, the empty chair, the shadows on the walls. I finally found myself in front of a mirror, though I didn't recognize the person staring back. My reflection was distorted, like a static-filled screen. My hollow eyes gazed back at me, and I heard that voice again. Only this time, it wasn't from the mirror. It was from me. You're part of it now. I don't know how long I've been in this house. Days? Weeks? Time doesn't work the same way here. Sometimes I see flashes of the outside world. My phone, the motel, my car. But they're fleeting, like fragments of a life that no longer belongs to me. I've realized something horrifying. The curse isn't just about the tape. The tape is a doorway, a lure, to pull you into its world. And once you're here, there's no escape. Today I found another VHS tape sitting on the chair in that cursed room. It had a new label, Pass It On. I haven't watched it, but I know what it means. It's offering me a way out, a way to shift the curse to someone else. For hours, I sat staring at the tape, wrestling with the decision. Could I really do it? Could I condemn someone else to this nightmare just to save myself? I thought about my grandfather. He must have faced the same choice, and maybe he tried to destroy the tape, to end it for good. But it didn't work. The curse found its way back. Maybe that's the cruelest part of all. There is no escape, no way to break the cycle. I've made my decision. I won't pass it on. Instead, I'm leaving this house for the last time. I'll take the tape, the curse, and disappear somewhere it can never hurt anyone else. Maybe if I isolate myself completely, it'll stay trapped with me. If you're reading this, it means I've failed, and the curse has found another way out. Please, for your own sake, heed this warning. Don't watch the tape. Don't let curiosity get the better of you. And if you ever feel like something is watching you from the shadows, if you hear whispers calling your name, or see static flicker where it shouldn't, run. But deep down, you'll know, just like I did. You can't run from it forever. It will always find you. If you're reading this, it means I didn't succeed. It means the curse is still out there, spreading like a virus, finding its way into new lives. I thought taking the tape with me would be the end of it, that I could trap it in my isolation. I was wrong. It's smarter than I gave it credit for. It doesn't just want to be contained. It wants to grow. I've been living in an abandoned cabin deep in the woods for weeks. At least, I think it's been weeks. Time feels strange here. The cabin is empty, except for the essentials. Canned food, a kerosene lamp, and my old laptop, which I've been using to document everything. I smashed my phone to pieces, thinking it would stop the static, the whispers, But the silence is worse. It's like the calm before a storm. The tape is still with me. I haven't watched it again, but I can feel its presence. Sometimes, late at night, I swear I hear it, humming, like the whirring of a VCR. Other times, I hear faint whispers outside the cabin, circling the walls, growing louder as the hours drag on. Then the dreams started. In my dreams, I'm back in my grandfather's attic. The figure with hollow eyes is there, standing in the shadows, watching. It doesn't move, but its presence is suffocating. When I try to scream, my voice is swallowed by static. Every time I wake up, I find myself sitting at the table, the tape in front of me. I've tried destroying it again. Fire, water, even smashing it with a hammer. Nothing works. The tape always reappears, untouched, waiting. But now, it's not alone. A few days ago, I found another box outside the cabin. It looked just like the one from my grandfather's attic, but this time, it was filled with tapes. Dozens of them, each one labeled with a different name. One of them had my name on it. I didn't open it. I didn't have to. I already knew what was on it. This morning I woke up to find something written on the wall of the cabin, scrawled in a black, tar-like substance. You can't hide forever. The letters were dripping, fresh. The smell was sickening, like burnt plastic and rot. I tried scrubbing it off, but it wouldn't budge. It's still there, a constant reminder that no matter how far I run, it will find me. I've been thinking about Watcher 88's words again. Pass it on. I can't bring myself to do it, but I think that's exactly what it wants. It thrives on fear, on spreading itself to new victims. By refusing to pass it on, I'm starving it. Or at least, I hope I am. But the longer I hold on to it, the stronger it seems to get. Last night, I heard something outside the cabin. Heavy footsteps, slow and deliberate. They stopped right outside the door. I didn't open it. I sat there, knife in hand, waiting for the inevitable. The door never opened, but when I checked this morning, there were muddy footprints leading up to the porch. They weren't human. I'm writing this now because I'm starting to lose hope. Whatever this thing is, it's not just a curse. It's alive, feeding on me, wearing me down. I don't know how much longer I can resist. If you're reading this, please do what I couldn't. Destroy the tape, the box, all of it. Don't let it spread any further. But if it's too late, if you've already seen it, then you know what's coming. The static, the whispers, the figure in the shadows, and eventually, the hollow eyes staring back at you. Run while you still can. Hide if you have to. But know this, it will always find you. And when it does, it won't let go. This is the last thing I'll write. Not because I want to stop, but because I feel like I'm running out of time, or maybe it's already run out. The tape, the box, the whispers, they're changing, evolving. It's not just about scaring me anymore. It's closer. 2 nights ago, I woke up in the middle of the forest, miles from the cabin. I have no memory of leaving, no clue how I got there. The first thing I noticed was the silence. The forest was completely still. No wind, no rustling leaves, no animal sounds, just the heavy, oppressive quiet. And then I saw it. The figure was standing at the edge of the trees, its hollow eyes locked onto me. For the first time, it moved. Slow, jerking steps toward me. Its movements were wrong, like it was imitating how humans walk, but couldn't quite get it right. I ran. No matter which direction I went, it was always there, just ahead, waiting. It didn't have to chase me. It was playing with me, herding me like prey. Eventually, I found my way back to the cabin. The moment I stepped inside, the whispers started again. But this time, they were different. Louder, clearer. And they were all saying the same thing. Let us in. I don't know how much longer I can keep this up. The tape is no longer just an object. It's like a beacon, drawing them closer. The whispers are inside my head now, relentless and consuming. Every time I close my eyes, I see that room, the chair, the shadows, and the figure. I've started seeing it in reflections, mirrors, windows, even the shine of water. It doesn't just stare anymore. It smiles, a grotesque, inhuman smile that stretches far too wide. I think I'm becoming part of it. This morning, I found something in the box of tapes. A note. It wasn't there before. The handwriting was jagged, almost frantic, and the words chilled me to my core. You are the tape. I don't know what it means, but I can feel the truth of it. My memories are slipping, being replaced by flashes of static. I hear the whispers, even when it's silent. And sometimes, when I look at my own reflection, I don't recognize the person staring back. I think I know what's happening. The curse isn't just about the tape. It's about creating more tapes, more cursed objects to spread itself. And I'm next. The figure isn't chasing me to harm me. It's chasing me to replace me. I don't know what will happen when it finally catches me, but I'm too tired to keep running. If you've found this, if you've read my words, then you already know too much. The curse is insidious. It doesn't need a tape or a box to reach you. It only needs your fear, your curiosity. If you hear the whispers, if you feel the static creeping into your life, you need to fight it. Ignore the pull to investigate. Destroy whatever it leaves behind. And if you ever see it, the figure with hollow eyes, don't let it get close. Don't let it look at you. Because once it sees you, there's no turning back. This is the end for me. The figure is outside now. I can hear it scratching at the door, whispering my name. I won't open it. But I don't think that matters anymore. Goodbye. The static begins to hum. And then nothing. I thought it was over. I thought the end was inevitable. But sometimes, when you're at your lowest, the light finds a way in. The scratching at the door grew louder, more insistent. The whispers became a deafening roar, and the static hummed through the air, almost vibrating in my chest. I was done fighting. My energy was gone, and I sat there, staring at the door, waiting for it to break through. And then I remembered something. My grandfather's journal. I had discarded it after reading his desperate attempts to destroy the curse, dismissing it as hopeless. But in my final moments, something he'd written came back to me. The tape thrives on fear, but fear is a door, and doors can be closed. It didn't make sense at first, but as I sat there, surrounded by the oppressive presence of the curse, I realized what he meant. The curse wasn't invincible. It needed me. It fed on my fear, my curiosity, my belief in its power. What if the way out wasn't destruction or running away? What if the answer was taking its power away? I stood up. My hands shook, my heart raced, but I faced the door. The whispers grew louder, more frantic, as if they knew what I was about to do. "I'm not afraid of you anymore," I said aloud, my voice trembling at first, but growing stronger. "You have no power over me." The scratching stopped. The whispers faltered, For the first time, there was silence. I walked over to the box of tapes and pulled out the cursed VHS. Its weight felt different now, lighter, almost fragile. I carried it outside to the fire pit, where I had tried to burn it before. This time, though, I wasn't trying to destroy it out of fear. I was letting it go. As the flames consumed the tape, I felt the air around me shift. The oppressive heaviness lifted, replaced by a strange sense of peace. The whispers were gone. The static dissolved into nothing. And for the first time in weeks, I felt free. The cabin felt different when I returned. Warmer, lighter, as though the curse had truly left. The journal sat on the table where I'd left it, and as I picked it up, I noticed something I hadn't before. A small note tucked into the back cover. It wasn't my grandfather's handwriting, but it was addressed to me. Fear is the key to their power. Courage is the key to their defeat. You've done well. Live your life freely, and if you must, tell your story. But do not let fear spread. That is the only way to truly break the curse. I left the cabin the next morning, leaving the cursed box behind. The forest felt alive again, birds chirping, wind rustling through the trees. I smiled for the first time in what felt like forever. I've since returned to my life, and while the memories of the curse linger, they don't haunt me. I know now that its power was always rooted in my belief in it. By choosing to face it without fear, I took away its grip on me. If you found this story, let it be a warning, not of the curse, but of the danger of letting fear control you. Fear is a powerful thing, but courage is stronger. The curse is gone now, and I am free. The static never returned.